Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply, and this video is to bring you a closer look at the transatlantic Dl Lsv40 Us26D lever privacy set from Transatlantic. This is a typical, common, exceptional quality, great value lever privacy set from Transatlantic. This item is part and parcel of a series of items, of many other items that you're going to find from Transatlantic that are of that same sort of great value. Their grade 2 lever locks like this are tremendous. We've sold this to countless contractors that were, quite frankly, using them in installations that were beyond the expected application of a grade 2 lock. The restroom door on a fast food restaurant or your favorite coffee house. And these locks perform fantastically when you consider the cost. It's hard to not consider using them when you have, if you're a subcontractor and you're installing doors and frames, this Transatlantic grade 2 lever, along with their door closers, their hinges, their lock sets, and their exit devices, are really a slam dunk. Let's get into it. So this is the absolute common lever design with that ADA compliant return back to the door. Okay. The 40 in the part number stands for privacy function, so this will be appropriate for a obviously a bathroom. It's important to know that this functions in a way that is always desirable, and not all locks function this way. Here's what I mean. Privacy set, fast food restaurant. What if I wanted to push the button and then pull the door closed? Okay. Some locks will behave such that it's still locked. That's a problem, obviously. Now this lock doesn't operate that way, meaning you can't do that. You can't vandalize or otherwise cause trouble for a restaurant in that sort of instance. You're in the bathroom, push it for privacy. Okay, it's locked. When you rotate, it unlocks. Let's say you're going to screw around, push the button, then pull the door closed to lock out the next guy. Not going to happen. As soon as the latch bolt strikes the strike plate, it pops the button out. Okay, so that you can't pervert the function of the lock that way. So I am partial to Transatlantic because it has a feature of a lock that's triple its cost. Okay, now, typical sort of application: 1.75" thick door, privacy function, satin chrome, ADA compliant lever. The Dl Lsv series cylindrical lock sets are designed for use on all standard duty, grade 2, light commercial, and what would be considered heavy duty residential applications. You never see this in a home because it's just, it's just a look sort of problem. Too big, too bulky generally, but nothing would prevent you from using it in a home. The Dl Lsv series is ADA compliant, solid zinc die-cast construction, which is both economical and dense. It's heavy, it gives weight to the item. This is, again, a privacy function, and that's what the 40 means. You can, of course, do the 10 for passage, the 53 for entrance, the 50 for office, the 70 for classroom, the 80 for storeroom. I think the dummy is a 12, not sure, but you can do all the common functions you need to do, you'll be able to do, meaning that you'll be able to consider this lock for a project of 100 doors. Let's say there's a 40,000 square foot manufacturing facility, and you could have maybe not 100 doors, but you could have lots of doors, different functions, and this will be able to, this will allow you to be able to, this line will allow you to do the entire job and stay within the line of locks. Okay, moving on. So this is going to be a grade 2 lock. That means it's been tested for up to half of a million duty cycles, 500,000 cycles, which grade 1 is 1 million cycles. This will work for doors between 1.75" and 2" thick. Keep that in mind. It's not going to work on an 1.75" door, an 1.375" door, not without you doing something to otherwise make that work. Fillers, spacers, donuts, things of that nature. Okay. Now, the standard latch bolt that you're going to get with this is 2 3/4" back set. Okay. That means that from the edge of the door to the center of the hole, and that hole needs to be 2 1/8 inch, is 2 3/4. Now you can purchase separately the 2 3/8 latch bolts, and that would be no problem. You can pick those up separately, and then you'd have, quite frankly, both latch bolts. There is a link below this video to find that latch bolt and other accessories. Actually, there's a link below this video to a document called Product Brochure, and that document is very handy because it will allow you to review all of the locks, but specifically you'll get down to page 4 and you'll find the part numbers for the other latch bolts, other strike plates that are available for this item. So you'll see that there. Now, the rest of the box is going to include, this is a privacy function, so you're going to have the emergency release on the outside naturally, and the rest of the box is going to give you not only your latch bolt, it's going to give you the bolt package to screw it all together to the door. Okay, we're going to go over that in a moment as well. Screws for the latch bolt in the edge of the door. Screws for the 4 7/8 hollow metal type strike. This 4 7/8 tall strike is typical for a hollow metal or a steel frame. You will get a spanner wrench, which is a handy tool that you'll use to disassemble the lock quite partially, get it on the door, and then reassemble the lock, which you don't really need that for the reassembly part. 1/2 inch latch projection, which is typical and common, fire rated up to 3 hours, fits in 2 1/8 inch holes, and has a limited mechanical 10-year warranty. And again, the 26D is, unless I've not already said it, is satin chrome. Now, we've talked about the product brochure. You can review all the other locks. That's very handy from Transatlantic. This series, the other series, knobs, levers, deadbolts. There's then a link to a document called template, and that is indeed included. Basically, you're looking at the, you'll want to be very careful, but this is a full-size template. You're just going to fold it, if your hole is not drilled, you're going to fold it over based on whatever back set you're doing, 2 3. Okay, forgive me. You're going to fold it over on the dashed line here, but then you're going to mark your hole 2 3/8 or 2 3/4, depending on what you're doing. Now, this is important because if you're retrofitting, you may not have the 5/16 hole at 12 and 6 o'clock. Okay, so you'll have to drill that, and this template will allow you to mark those holes. If I'm doing a new installation, I wouldn't use a paper template because to do this I probably have a more permanent tool. But in the absence of a permanent tool, you're going to use the paper template. What I like to do is get this set on my door, folding it over, placing it. Now keep in mind that there are, you see it says high bevel, flat, on bevel, and low bevel. If you're, the definition of backset is the edge of the door to the center of the hole, but the definition is not the inside or the outside, it's actually in the center of the door. So if your door is square, here's what I'm trying to say. That point there is where it's measured from. So this point in the center of the door over to the center of the hole is 2 3/4. Now if your door is beveled, which would be what we call 3 degree, and that translates to 1/8 of an inch in a bevel for every 2 inches of door thickness. If you're measuring on a beveled door, first determine what's the high side, and that will be the pull side, but measure both sides. One side will be physically wider than the other. The lines on the template account for that bevel, okay? So you'll want to adhere to where that is. Now, you're really talking about being off maybe a 1/16 of an inch. I realize it sounds ridiculous, but the fact of the matter is, it matters. Now, it may not matter on this lock, but it might, depending on if you're a 1/16 off there and then your drill bit moves a 1/16 of an inch. Your pieces will be tight on the door, okay, you know, you have too many 16ths, and now you got an 1/8 of an inch. And the lock won't operate correctly. So it's really in your best interest to get the back set placed properly to begin with. And when you prep the hole, to do it straight and accurately. I will mark my holes in such a way that is not a permanent sort of mark, and I will get my tape measure and I will physically do a reality check on all of that to be absolutely sure that where I'm about to drill a door is utterly and completely accurate. Okay, so if you have any questions on bevel, by all means let us know. We'll help you determine what that is. I'll get the template located on the door, and I will mark my 3 holes. Once I know it's correct with a center punch, I will turn the template over and mark those 3 holes as well. I like to drill from one side of the door halfway through, the other side of the door halfway through, and that's how I like to do it. I never drill through a door because I can guarantee myself that when the drill bit exits, you run the risk of damaging the door, and you will certainly not have a laser beam straight hole. And locks like this, especially cylindrical locks, this construction is called cylindrical lock. Cylindrical. They do not tolerate misdrilled holes very well at all. They just don't. You're going to end up having to ovalize the holes and have a generally sloppy installation, which will give way to a malperforming lock down the road because you've got too large of a hole, technically. So anyway, any questions on how to drill for that, feel free to reach out to us. A 2 1/8 inch hole saw works really good. I mean, literally a hole saw is what I like to use for that kind of stuff, and they work just fine. Now, there's a link below this video to the installation instructions, which are included as well. And let's take a look at those now. The rest of this video will talk about installing the lock, and much of it we've already gone over. If you're doing a new mortise installation, you've got that majority of that part. You'll have to chisel the edge of the door. That latch is going to be 2 3/4 by 1 1/8. The thickness of the faceplate is 5/32 of an inch, or at least that's what I would mortise it to. Okay, you're going to drill your 2 1/8 holes, your 5/16 at 12 6. Your edge prep, that's a 1 inch diameter hole that's going to go into the door for the lock, for the latch body. Okay, then of course your strike plate, you're going to mortise if necessary. Now, once you've got everything mortised, you're going to be already down to step 5, and that's where the spanner wrench comes in. You will need to, the lock will be assembled. On the inside, that's where you're going to insert this end of the spanner wrench into the base and simply pull the lever off. There's a little hole there. And pull the lever off. Okay, that's easy. That comes right off. The inside rose will come off. Then the inside spring cage or chassis, inside of here is a spring or series of springs, probably just one heavy spring. And that little tab there, that's going to nest into the preparation of the back of the lever, and that's really what is doing the job of lever return. Okay, so we've got that. Now the last thing is then this backer plate, and that's where this package of bolts are going to come in. These 2 bolts that you see here, they're going to thread onto the chassis. Here and here, and that's for the holes that you've made for 12 6. Now you can skip drilling those holes altogether, and then you will skip installing those bolts altogether. It will work, it can work. It's not recommended because you can put a lot of rotational pressure and torque on a lever, and you can certainly make that chassis creep this way and put undue stress and strain on your latch bolt, causing it to want to do this. Okay, it's going to break the lock. It's going to make it not fit. It's going to make a great lock into a lock that's, you know, not performing up to the cell job that I'm giving. Drill the holes is the bottom line. That's quite frankly why they're there, and that's why you don't see those on knob locks whatsoever, because the amount of pressure or torque you can put on a knob lock is less. The drawing there shows very accurately how to place all the screws in through this plate. Okay. You're going to have your short little screws that are here. They're going to go into the tapped holes here, and that will go into the area here and here. That will hold the lock together, and then you've got extra screws that you're going to use, you know, for attaching here and here, let's say, the lock actually down onto the door. So it's bolted here, it's bolted here, it's bolted here and here, then it's screwed through these two holes. Once you have that plate on, okay, you will, well, you're going to have this plate on, and this plate on is what it's going to be, because those holes, sorry, got that backwards, those little bolts will go here, okay. At that point, the next thing to do is to put the rows on, and you can see this feature here and the dimple that's here. You're just going to mate that open area up with the dimple like that, and then you'll be able to turn it and it will ratchet on. Because of those little ripples that are there. Okay, and that'll hold that on. The final thing then is to take your lever and insert it on. A couple of prongs that are here, that's for a wood door. And if you're doing a hollow metal door, your hollow metal door generally will have little semicircles at 3 and 9 o'clock to account for that. Okay, that plate goes on, the spring cage plate goes on, the rose goes on. The last thing, of course, is the lever needs to go on. And because I've got those parts fit loosely here, I'm going to leave it like that so that when the client gets it, he doesn't have to disassemble it. But at that point, the lever will just snap and push on. It'll be a very nice, clean installation that you will be, if your holes are drilled correctly with this sort of lock, you're going to love this lock because, I did put it back together, because it's simple and straightforward. The balance of the installation instructions we've gone through. Generic installation instructions are really for practically all functions. Skip the keyed parts, obviously. So finally, back to the link to the manufacturer's page. Well, there is a link to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up all the transatlantic items that we sell, but also a link to the product catalog for all of the transatlantic items. And again, if you're a subcontractor, you're going to want to think about transatlantic for hinges, door closers, exit devices, lock sets. Here in Chicago, the local client base that we've been selling transatlantic to for literally decades knows it as Taco. Give me the Taco door closer. TACO, Transatlantic Company. Those door closers, especially in the exit devices, those are some of the highest performing products per how many you've sold. Of any lock, exit device, door closer, hinge that I've ever sold. The value is tremendous. If you've got a contractor who's doing some no specification sort of work, Transatlantic is really a great option for you. My name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. If you have any questions on the Transatlantic Dl Lsv40 Us26D commercial lever privacy set or any other transatlantic product, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.